What happens when the hunter becomes the hunted, not by a rival, but by a silent, cruel trap? In the heart of the Serengeti, a desperate mother faces certain death. Yet, the real story begins when two human beings must risk everything to save her, proving that in a world of raw survival, compassion can be the most powerful force of all. The midday sun beat down on the vast, golden plains of the Serengeti, turning the endless savanna into a shimmering sea of heat. A lioness, her coat the color of dried grass, moved with a silent, determined grace that belied the gnawing hunger in her belly. Her name was Malika, and she was more than just a predator. She was a mother. Back in a hidden den, her three small cubs, no more than a few weeks old, were waiting, their tiny bodies relying on her success. Malika had been hunting for hours, her senses on high alert. She stalked a herd of zebras, her powerful muscles coiling and uncoiling with every step. She chose her target, a young, slightly slower mare, and launched herself forward in a burst of speed and fury. But the chase was long, and the zebra was faster than she anticipated. With a frustrated snarl, Malika fell short, her lunge failing. The herd galloped away, leaving her in a cloud of dust and the bitter taste of defeat. Exhausted and weak, Malika limped across the scorching earth, the fiery sun draining the last of her energy. Her paws burned, and a deep ache settled in her joints. She was a queen of the savannah, yet at this moment, she was nothing but a desperate, failing mother. She needed to rest, to gather her strength before another attempt. Ahead, a large acacia tree stood like a sentinel, its broad canopy offering a promise of shade. It was a familiar landmark, a place where many lions sought refuge. She lay down at its base, her body giving in to the exhaustion. But this was no natural sanctuary. The ground shifted beneath her, not with a gentle tremor, but with a sudden, violent upheaval. A gut-wrenching crack split the air as the ancient tree, weakened at its base, toppled over. A sharp, searing pain shot through Malika as the massive trunk slammed down on her hindquarters, pinning her to the ground. She let out a guttural roar, a cry of pain and panic that was a far cry from her usual majestic calm. She thrashed and clawed at the air, but the weight was immense, an unyielding vice crushing her body. She saw the clean cut at the base of the trunk. A saw or an axe had been here recently. This wasn't an accident, it was a trap. In the distance, three male lions of her pride, her mate and his two brothers, emerged from the tall grasses. They watched from a safe distance, their golden eyes narrowed, their muscles tensed. Their low growls were a mix of alarm and confusion. They were powerful, but they were also cautious, bound by the unwritten rules of the wild. Just as hope seemed to fade, two figures on a patrol vehicle appeared on the horizon. They were Lucas and Amina, two park rangers, their faces tanned and weathered by years under the African sun. They had heard the lions roar, a sound of agony they knew all too well. They drove closer, their hearts pounding in their chests. The ranger's truck rumbled to a stop,
Did you see
and a
that?
man and woman jumped out, their eyes immediately scanning the scene. The sight was horrifying. A lioness, her strength broken, trapped beneath the weight of a giant tree, and three powerful male lions circling, their gazes fixed on the helpless female. Lucas and Amina exchanged a quick, knowing look. This was not a typical rescue. This was a high-stakes gamble with lives on the line. "It's Malika," Lucas said, his voice
her.
low. He knew her well. She was one of
She
the
has
most
found us.
magnificent lionesses in the pride. If we don't
Amina,
do something,
please.
she'll die, and her
We have
cubs
to do
won't
this.
survive
I
without
know,
her.
Lucas.
The words hung in the air, heavy with responsibility. The danger was immense. The male lions were a ticking time bomb. One wrong move, one sudden sound, and they could charge. And what about the poachers? The rangers knew the ruthless nature of those who would set such a trap. They could be watching, hidden in the tall grass, ready to return. The rangers didn't hesitate for long. They had a duty,
Najima.
a deep-seated love for the animals they protected. They grabbed two axes from their truck, The sound of their hands fumbling for the tools seemed to echo in the vast silence. It was a moment of decision that separated them from passive observers and made them active participants in a life-or-death drama. "We have to do this," Amina said, her voice firm. The first swing of the axe was a sharp, resounding thud that shattered the stillness. It was a defiant act, a declaration of intent. The male lions, already on edge, reacted instantly. They let out a low, unified growl and took a step forward. Their movements were deliberate, their eyes never leaving the rangers. The air crackled with a primal tension. Every swing of the axe now felt like a direct challenge to the pride. Malika's labored breathing was the only sound Lucas and Amina could hear over the pounding of their own hearts. She let out another pained roar, a sound of agony that drove them to work faster. Sweat poured down their faces, stinging their eyes under the relentless sun, but they didn't stop. They hacked at the trunk with a desperate fury, their arms burning with the effort. Each swing of the axe was not just an act of labor. It was a desperate plea against time, a furious rhythm of hope. The three male lions were closer now, a silent, menacing wall of muscle and fur. They were just yards away, their growls a constant, low-frequency hum that vibrated through the ground. Every swing of the axe was a high-stakes gamble. Lucas would swing, his muscles straining, while Amina would take a step back, her eyes fixed on the circling lions, her body tense and ready to react. They were a synchronized machine of courage and caution, a fragile balance between action and self-preservation. This was no longer just a rescue. It was a test of will, a brutal, silent standoff. The rhythm of their axes was a frantic symphony. Thud-crack, thud-crack. Malika's breathing grew shallower, her eyes losing their light, and a cold dread settled in the pit of their stomachs. She was fading. They had to be faster. Every fiber of their being was focused on this single, urgent task. The world outside their small, dangerous circle of effort ceased to exist. Finally, with a loud, splitting groan, the tree trunk gave way. It cracked and separated. With a final, massive heave, Lucas and Amina pushed the broken piece of wood off the lioness. Malika let out a shuddering breath, her body convulsing with a mix of relief and pain. The air, thick with tension just moments before, now felt thin and full of possibility. Slowly, painfully, Malika pushed herself to her feet. She wobbled, her injured leg barely able to hold the weight. For a long moment, she simply stood there, breathing heavily, a testament to her unbreakable will. Then, she turned her head slowly and looked at Lucas and Amina. There was no aggression in her eyes, only a profound, silent intelligence. It was a look that transcended species, a look that said more than any human words ever could. It was a flash of something akin to gratitude. The male lions, who had been watching with intense focus, did something remarkable. They didn't charge. They didn't roar. They moved toward the lioness, their powerful bodies a shield. They circled her, their low, rumbling growls now a sound of comfort and protection. One of them, the largest of the three, lowered his massive head, gave a quiet, deep rumble, and looked at the two rangers before turning back to Malika. It was a silent acknowledgement, a gesture that spoke of a shared victory, a moment of mutual respect. Lucas and Amina stood in the vast stillness of the Serengeti, their axes hanging limply at their sides. A wave of exhaustion and profound relief washed over them. They had risked everything, and in doing so, had borne witness to a rare and beautiful connection between man and the wild. The lions led Malika away, her limp a painful reminder of her ordeal, but her spirit unbroken. As the lions disappeared into the tall grasses, a feeling of deep satisfaction settled in the rangers' hearts. The rescue was more than just a job. It was a calling. They had saved a life, a mother, a part of the wild they were sworn to protect. The sun began to set, painting the sky in fiery hues of orange and red. But the light of hope it cast was a beacon for all of them. The story of Malika is a testament to the quiet power of human compassion. In a world where the wilderness is under constant threat, It's easy to feel helpless. But this moment, the courage of a man and a woman, the silent thanks of a pride, reminds us that we are not. Our actions matter. The illegal wildlife trade is a global crisis, and every animal saved, every story shared, is a step towards a better future. This is a story about the promise we make to protect a world that is so much larger than ourselves. If it moved you, remember that hope is our most powerful tool. Join us on our journey to explore more incredible stories and help protect the world we love.